Okay, are we running? Are we live? Are we working? Stream health seems to be good. Okay. Alright, well, welcome back, guys, even though there's no one here right at this moment. Today, again, I just wanted to have a bit of a chill out. I'm going to be doing some work whilst we're talking, but at the same time, some of the stuff that I wanted to go and take a look at, some of the stuff I wanted to start talking about, was some of the results that have come in so far from the SurveyMonkey survey that I put out a little while ago. And if you haven't taken that yet, if you're someone that watches the channel a lot, or even just a little bit, if you found my videos either useful or entertaining or interesting or any of those things at any point, then feel free to okay, I'm not sure what just happened, but it decided to have a quick moment there. So as I was saying, if you've found any of the videos that I've put out interesting or useful or fun or whatever, then I'm interested in your thoughts, because obviously it's you guys that are going to help facilitate the growth of this as a channel and kind of prompt any more of the stuff that I'm doing. And also you guys are already representative and kind of highlight the group of people that I'm probably looking to talk to. Yeah, the people that are going to be looking for coaching stuff or just ways to chill out, ways to cope with whatever it is that you're going through at the moment, ways to improve. And as I want to help you guys improve, I need you guys to help me improve as well. So if you haven't taken the survey yet that I put out, it's down in the description there. So feel free to. The longest it's taken anyone to complete so far seems to be about 3 to 4 minutes. So it's not long by any means. I think it's like 10 questions. So if you could just take a moment out of your day and go and take a look at that, then I would very much appreciate it. But as a result, I've already had a few responses to it. Some of them have actually been quite surprising, some quite interesting. And so as a result, I'm going to want to just talk my way through some of those so far already. Just because, as I said, they're interesting, they're useful. And, if any of you guys turn up in the chat whilst I'm talking about it, then, any thoughts that you have, any additional ideas that you have, would be great. On top of the fact that if you've gone and thrown your info into the survey so that I actually have it to use, then thank you very much. And furthermore, if you do it whilst in the stream, feel free to tell me and I will say thank you directly to you. But anyway, let's take a look at the first little bit of information that we've got here from it. And that is, the first question I asked was, how old are you? Because obviously I've got my analytics on YouTube that I can take a look at, and it says, oh yes, well, the majority of people are, say, from America and they're from this age to this age, and that's all cool and groovy, that's all fine, but that doesn't really necessarily always tell me who's watching or if that's even their accurate age, because I know full well that at times I'll be sat there watching stuff with Hannah and on her account, and so as a result I'm sat here going, yes, I'm watching, but Hannah's account information is not representative of me as well. People who have shared accounts where they're able to just watch whatever and whenever, they may be in the minority, I realise, but it's still, I would much prefer to have more accurate and useful information rather than just what YouTube gives me, because some of the stuff that YouTube gives me is very vague, to say the least, and that's something I want to talk about a little bit later as well. But in regards to the number of people that have kind of highlighted their age, apparently most of you guys, or at least the ones that have responded to the survey so far, are sat in the kind of 25 to 34 range, whilst YouTube tells me that most of you are 18 to 26 or 25 or whatever it is. So there seems to be maybe a slight slant in regards to who's willing to answer versus who actually watches the channel. or it's just the fact the data is skew-if. The next one I asked was how people found the channel. Apparently most of you found me through recommendations, which again, or at least in terms of the people who have responded to the survey that I've put out, which again is odd because most of a good number at least of the people that find my videos normally according to YouTube analytics are finding me through just the browsing features as opposed to the recommendations next to a video or suggested videos. So it's interesting to see, at the very least, who was willing to answer the survey and where they found me versus who was, who's just been subscribing to the channel anyway. The next question that I asked was about video topics and things that you guys actually watch, and I was kind of surprised considering the numbers that I get on a lot of videos. A lot of you guys, at least in regards to who again has responded to the survey so far, general coaching videos, career and business coaching and advice stuff, and culture and media commentary are the things that stand out at the top. The general coaching stuff I can believe because some of those videos have over time, because they're kind of evergreen content, have done very well. But then apparently fewer of you have been watching the news and political stuff, fewer of you have been watching the gaming stuff, which again, some of the gaming videos are some of the ones that have done the best in terms of views across the channel. So it's very interesting to see that split. The biggest thing that kind of stood out to me was that some of the best comments that I've got from you guys, some of the kindest and most appreciative comments that I've got from you guys have been from kind of dating and relationship coaching videos, and that's an area of expertise that I feel I have that a lot of people maybe don't when they're looking at things more broadly. And as a result, it's like I enjoy making those videos as well. Last week I put out some, and I'll go into more on why I did that anyway in a bit. But apparently you guys just haven't been watching those, and I realised that I haven't maybe put out quite so many of those more recently as I did a while ago, apart from the last week or so. But it's still, apparently that's one of the least watched on the channel, which I find kind of strange considering, again, those are the ones that people have been either moved by to comment or have found useful enough to put their own experiences up for us to take a look at. So that again, lots of surprises in here. But then the next question I asked was, for coaching topics and things, what would you guys like to see more of? Or what would you like me to cover that I haven't already? And there were some that were very straightforward, kind of just more self-betterment stuff, more coping mechanism stuff, some more story, like me telling stories, me sharing my experiences, which, again, fair enough. All stuff that I kind of expected to be there, the shorter answers. But then there were a couple which, again, prompted me to do some of the relationship-based videos that I did over the last few days, because I've done intimacy before a long time ago, but a couple of days ago I did a breakdown of the 6 stages of intimacy, like the actual mechanics and the shifting from point A to point B to point C throughout kind of a lifetime of a potential relationship. And I also did one in regards to confidence in the bedroom, which actually stemmed from this comment. Now, all of these were anonymous. I didn't want to know who you were other than the information that you wanted to give through the survey, so I don't have any names to put to these or anything like that. But the comment read that I'd really like to see more relationship videos, some on sex and sexuality, confidence, assertiveness, where romance is concerned, responding to different ideas in a relationship, how to communicate your wants over sensitive issues. Now, I have got some others in the works around that, but the relationship stuff that I did last week and some that's coming out next week as well, or this week rather, and some that's coming out next week as well, kind of stemmed from this response, because this was one of the responses that I saw come through. Basically, I think it was like only like 3 or 4 hours after I had posted the survey, this one just came straight through, and it had a lot there for me to kind of take a look at and work with. And where, one of the things that stood out to me from the comment, in some on sex and sexuality, confidence and assertiveness, where romance is concerned, that's all stuff that kind of rolls together, and that was one of the reasons why I did the being more confident in the bedroom video, and I tried to be as delicate with it as possible. But again, it's still a case of like seeing that this was something that you guys maybe wanted more of. I wanted to try and respond straight off with possibly one of the things that is just easiest to handle, because lots of people go to pieces over things like performance in the bedroom and all that kind of stuff, and how they fall to pieces. It can be really nerve-wracking, especially when you either actually care or you've got a very negative opinion of yourself in the first place. I think I'm not quite centered in the camera, but as a result, it's kind of a case of the way to get past those things, the way to kind of put a pin in each one of those problems that you might have with that, unless it's just a very literal physical issue, like you've actually got something wrong with you that you require help with, and that maybe it causes you some problems, or if you're just not necessarily abnormal, but you are maybe more limited or more kind of substantially gifted, should we say, than some. Those areas can cause breakdowns because it's actually something physical, an actual physical constraint of some description. But in a lot of instances, it comes down to, even in those instances, it comes down to kind of facing it head on, being positive, being confident, and confidence kind of stems from a lot of places, including those well outside of the bedroom. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to put that video together first, because it was just like, well, this one is one that I can deal with, and it will be easy, and it applies to both guys and girls. There are things that are specific to guys and girls that I kind of want to go into at some point, but it's we'll have to see how me putting those videos together and when I get them out comes out, because some of those are far more complicated, and some of them are kind of very short and sweet, but maybe not the kind of thing that's easily put into a video, in full. So it might be a case of me throwing some of those smaller ideas all together, and then running with that, and taking a lot more time over some of the more complex and worrying things as well. So the next question I asked was, I'm looking to develop the channel, I'm looking to grow it, I'm looking to develop more content. There are things that I've been kind of wanting to do for a while, but just haven't had the opportunity. Lots of things that I would like to do in terms of kind of content involving maybe other people a bit more, and doing some other stuff, besides kind of me having Hannah around to relax with me playing games every so often. And so there were four kind of areas, four categories where I was like, okay, five kind of categories that I was like, right, where do you guys kind of want to see my efforts go most? And there was one clear winner, which I'll get to in a minute, but in regards to coaching and discussion and Q&A live streams, kind of like this one, where it can just meander and go everywhere, and I can answer questions and you guys can give me feedback and whatever else. Gaming live streams, which, as and when those happen, I'm not sure what to do with those exactly just yet, overall, but gaming live streams, tabletop gaming, pen and paper RPG type videos, and also kind of more story, life experience, personal hobby kind of stuff as well. All of those basically within one or two. Everyone apparently wants to see those, like, to one extent or another, which is kind of fun. But the one that kind of came out well ahead of everyone else, which 100% of current respondents wanted to to see me try and do was interviews with people. And there are a few people that I've got in mind with for kind of doing that with. But then also there are some kind of tough and difficult boundaries to that as well. That's probably the most difficult thing for me to do. But just because some of the people that I'd like to interview, some of the people I'd like to have a conversation with, some of the people I'd need to, like to get in touch with, they're all people who are probably quite busy in and of themselves, and so trying to pin those people down is going to be tough. But considering all of you guys have wanted it when I'm in maybe a slightly better position to do so than I am right at this moment, I will be kind of looking into that and seeing what I can do towards it and trying to make headway with the first few people. But then the next thing is a lot of you, well, not a lot, but a handful of you guys who are incredibly generous, possibly too generous to one extent or another, have got in touch with me via email, via a whole load of other stuff, and you guys have asked about kind of supporting the channel, because I've said I need upgrades, I need this, I need that. Sometimes I've mentioned that my money is wrapped up in other projects and other things that I'm doing, and so as a result I don't necessarily have all of the budget that I would necessarily want or need to just push towards the channel and towards what I would like to do with it. And so some of you guys have been very kind, very generous, and made offers or suggestions of things like Patreon or of setting up a subscription service when I was still able to access the monetization stuff on YouTube. There were suggestions of how I could go about that. Some of you have suggested maybe moving across to Twitch or doing stuff on Twitch at the same time as me doing stuff on YouTube, so I can have those two things operating at the same time, where revenue might be available from one of them, and how I could possibly kind of pull stuff across from one platform to the other and see how that goes. But I wanted to ask you guys kind of what you would see as a good perk for patrons, and apparently all of you were on board with 3 of the options that I had, 3 of the ideas, and then one of you, not one of you, some of you were only on board with the last one to a degree. Or rather, there weren't as many of you on board with that last one. So the first one, I said Patreon-only live streams, where once or twice a month, where I would literally sit down with you guys, get your direct questions, your direct kind of issues that you'd like to discuss and talk over, and how we do all of those kind of things, and kind of like a town hall or like a group coaching session or anything like that, a workshop. And we'd do those maybe once, twice a month, depending on how many of you there were. At which point then, I'd probably then take those videos once we were done and upload them to YouTube separately. But again, we'd have to see how that worked and what people were happy with. Because in my mind, it would be a case of going, right, well, you guys have been able to ask the questions, you guys have been able to interact, get answers, discuss things, get a little bit of perspective, clarity, whatever. But then, if you guys have been asking certain questions, there's a good chance that a lot of people who maybe couldn't find their way to Patreon, or who don't see as much of me in their feeds every day, or whatever, then they're probably still going to have a lot of the questions that you guys have. And so even if you guys have had that direct interaction with me, you've had my time to discuss and look over some of the things that you want to talk about, then that's all very well and good. But then there are going to be those other people who maybe have those same issues, have those same questions, would like to hear more. And so as a result, putting those videos up afterwards is kind of like, this was what happened on the live stream, these are the questions that these very generous people, these very generous patrons have asked, but now you guys can also benefit from what's being said, because that's why I'm here, that's why I want to do stuff on YouTube, because it's got a huge audience, a huge community, And there are a lot of people who could benefit from just that little bit of help every now and again. And I want to be there to provide that help instead of having to force those people into places that maybe aren't as useful to them. That's one of my biggest issues with the industry that I'm basically attached to and that I'm working within to one degree or another, and that is that a lot of coaches want to help people, but due to the attitudes towards coaches, due to the attitudes towards life coaching generally, even though if someone comes up to you and says that they are a coach that heals you with crystals whilst talking out your problems, chances are that there's maybe a little bit of daftness in there. But in terms of just a straightforward kind of qualified kind of psychology focused coach, then they're on the same spectrum as a therapist, as a consultant, and all that kind of thing, and it just sits in there in the middle of that whole spectrum. And so having those Patreon only live streams where you guys get to talk out your bits and pieces with me, where we get to discuss stuff, and then we go and take those videos to the YouTube community as a whole. That's not just me helping those people, that's you helping yourselves, and as a byproduct helping those other people, so we can all feel good about that. The next thing that I suggested as a perk would be monthly reports for patrons, stuff like coaching questions to for certain situations, certain things that you want to look at, things to ask yourselves, certain worksheets, and things that you guys would be able to use with a little bit of guidance, maybe a little bit of explanation from me in a video once they go out every month or something, just so that they're there and you can use them as much or as little as you'd like. I've actually been working on a couple of new worksheets to use with clients whilst I've been doing other bits and pieces. They're not quite finished and tidy and all the rest of it yet. Some of them are drawn out by hand on paper, so it's not then the extra couple that I'm coming up with haven't exactly been finished yet, but I'm developing more of that stuff that I want to put out to people. And then the last one was for certain higher tiers of patron, for their ongoing support, I would offer a disc profile to be done for them. I'd put it together, I'd sort out the matrix, I'd send them the link, they fill out the link, I generate the report, and then I send the report to them. And I think because those have set costs, the disc profiles, if you want to have one done, you need to go, I have to put my client's information through a third-party system that's attached to the coaching academy where I got my qualifications from and got my accreditation from. And so as a result, the way that it works is there's a fee for each license, for each profile done, kind of like software licenses. For each matrix it's a new license, and so on and so forth. And that's because it has to be run through this digital matrix to have the highest degree of accuracy, the highest degree of information churning, and finding out exactly what is working when and where. But also disc profiles work over time, so it might be a case of me going, okay, well, if you're a patron of a certain tier for a certain period of time, 6 months, something like that maybe, or every quarter, every 3 months, as long as it covers the cost of it to a degree, then I would go, okay, then disc profiles for everyone of this tier that is supported for this period of time or something. Just so that was covered, and just so that then you guys would get the benefit of a disc profile on a regular basis, and you basically have me as your long distance profiler for as long as you wanted to be a patron. It would allow you to track your progress and track the way that your personality shifts and changes depending on what situation you're in. Because that's the thing with DISC. DISC appreciates that people change in different situations, and DISC appreciates that people change over time, things that certain systems don't, certain other matrix systems and personality profiling systems don't really take into account, unfortunately. And so, as a result, it's you guys apparently all liked that idea. You guys liked the idea of having that that profiling report done. And what I said in the thing was a disc profiling report for each patron, and that's all very well and good. But obviously, it wouldn't be like a one. It would, to put it in perspective, it would have to be like, it wouldn't be for every $1 patron, for instance. There would have to be a certain degree of tiering out in regards to the profiles, especially. In regards to the live streams, as you know, as long as there weren't too many people to handle, that'd be fine. For basically everyone to one degree or another. For the reports, as long as I could put them together, then that wouldn't be a problem for me to do for basically everybody, because it would just be an emailing thing. But the profiles are firstly one of the more expensive things that I could do, but also they're one of the most useful and valuable generally. So it would be having to tier that out and see how it would all work out with you guys. Otherwise, the last thing that I said, which apparently not all of you guys were on board with, was exclusive merch. So, you know, once I'm in a position to put merch together, because that's again something that I want to do, it was a case of me going, okay, well, if we've got merch for everybody, and then here's an exclusive piece of merch every quarter or something for the people that have actually been generous enough to support me. Because I know in myself that if I'm going to back something with money, like a Kickstarter or something else like that, then usually I'm going to want something physical or something tangible that I can actually interact with to come out of that. If it's just this person's doing videos online, they're now asking for money to grow, but I'm just getting the same old videos online, then, you know, there's part of me that kind of goes, if I had a lot more money to spare, then maybe. But otherwise, if I'm on my limited budget, like so many people are, then, you know, I'm not going to expend on that if I'm not going to get something very specific and kind of tangible, something you can hold on to, like a product. And so, you know, I'm going, I would like to do more of that, you know, and I would like to value the people that are actually putting their faith and their money in me through something like Patreon, which, to be fair, I think Patreon would probably be the way to go, considering how stable it has seemingly been for a good number of people. But it's like putting that out there in that way would potentially be, you know, for people like me who would want something tangible, want something solid, that would be a great way of doing it. But apparently this was the least popular thing. It was the thing that people were maybe like, no, if you're going to do merch, or at least I'm reading it as, if you're going to do merch, have the merch for everybody. You don't need the merch for just the Patreons or patrons through Patreon. But then a lot of other people probably would have gone, oh, well, actually, for the maybe higher tiers of patron or something like that, it would be something that they would want. So, I don't know, that's something that's maybe more moot, more something to discuss. Because then, I've had these ideas in regards to merch for a while. It's something that I would like to do. And at the very least, it's something I'd like to do for me. I wouldn't mind having a hoodie with the Silver Mountain logo on it, or having a set of mugs or patches or whatever with stuff relating to my content on it. I don't know, a t-shirt with the 3 R's of personal strength on it or something like that, you know. Like I've had that in my head for a while and kind of gone, I would like to do that. If not for anyone else, just for me. But yeah, when I actually asked you guys in regards to merch, it's something I've wanted to do as well, but comes with greater cost, which is true, you know, sourcing, generating of stuff, putting it all together. So, you know, I want to know what you guys would want. You guys, none, like barely any of you said t-shirts, barely any of you said mugs, barely any of you said patches or bags, and the only thing that basically everybody agreed on was me doing kind of planners and self-coaching workbooks, which again, I've had this idea because I've talked before about the way that I work with clients and the way that I kind of try to create a story around the coaching process, so that it's you becoming the hero of your own journey. It's you kind of building up and continuing and growing. And so it's something that I would really like to throw in there. One of the other things actually that was said as in a comment in regards to the patron stuff before would have been for the higher tiers to also get monthly Skype sessions with me, like almost one-to-one coaching for the higher tiers of patron, which, to be fair, does sound again like something I could do, but obviously that would be kind of dependent on time, because I know a lot of you guys that watch are over in the States, and if you're over in the States, then me having to operate and me having to do stuff, then that would be something that maybe would burn me out. But anyway, back to what I was saying about planners. In regards to planners and self-coaching workbooks and stuff, I've had this idea for a while of just putting together the Silver Mountain Coaching Quest log, whereby you can put in all your goals, all your objectives, all of the quests and the adventures you want to go on, and you can using the various worksheets and using a very simple basic kind of planner setup. I would love to be able to just supply that to people as merchandise, as something that would be great to have, because also then if I've got a supply of it, then people who I have as clients face to face in the real world, or even seminars and things that I might get to do at some point in the future if everything goes the way I would like it to go, then it's a case of then for the people that want them, the people that are willing to pay for them, the people that would find them useful or are paid for, say, to a seminar with a ticket that includes them as part of the cost, then that would be something that I could throw out there to just, again, help more people. But obviously there's a cost involved. Now the next thing I was kind of interested in, because I've had some of you guys go in the comments before, could you add either kind of titling to the videos, or could you put a blog together? And I realised I did put a blog together. It's got some stuff on it so far, and I do need to get back to doing that. But having the time to write out, pull up, because I started doing it with old videos. So like going back to the old videos, pulling up the video, going through the information, going through the research and the notes if I still had them, and then putting the blog post together in a way that I'd like to think was kind of useful and friendly in its tone. And I enjoy writing as well, which made it fun to do, but it is time consuming. Like where a video takes, if it's one that I don't need to edit because I'm just talking straight to the camera and I've got my stuff up, and if it's one that is something that I'm familiar with, something that I've done my research on, got my notes on and all the rest of it, and especially if I'm just having a good day anyway, that can take as long as it takes me to record the video to have that video basically done. Then there's the upload time, which is a couple of hours, the polish of various bits and pieces that I need to do for YouTube specifically, but otherwise it's a case of just getting it up and done. But a lot of you guys have said, we don't learn so well by watching, we don't learn so well by listening, we learn so well by having stuff written down in front of us so we can read as you're going along with it. And doing that on the videos themselves, considering how long it takes just to at times do videos with edits in that just have cuts, and then the compiling time afterwards, and stuff like that, doing all of the kind of subtitling and things like that when I'm still learning some of the overlay stuff with my editing software, because I went from using a lot of very, very cheap or free tools for cutting videos and stuff when way back, to then jumping into what is essentially a professional piece of editing software, and there's so much more to it. There's so many more moving pieces, and I'm getting my head around it, but it's taking time. I don't always have the time to just sit down, record some random tat that I'm doing with friends on a game, or when I'm just working and I want to cut some stuff in, and experiment with it. I don't always have the time to do that in terms of then sitting down and experimenting with it, finding out how stuff works. So it's that stuff that I'm still working on, and that was one of the reasons why I put the blog together as well, so that it's not just, I have to go back to that video every time and like click pause every so many seconds to get the thing that's written down. I wanted to put that into the blog. But then the question I asked in regards to how do you find that you pick up information, very few people actually said reading or by doing. Most people said by watching and listening. In which case, again, I feel like my kind of focus should still be on the video content, with the explaining things, with the talking things through. And in regards to watching, there are some things that I would like to do that would kind of like some of the stuff that I've tried to do before that I just never really managed to do properly in a way that I was happy with, or that worked particularly well. And so as a result, like, there are some more things that I want to do to try and maybe capitalize more on the watching as well, giving people actual examples of how stuff works. But again, that's kind of harder to do. Going out and doing it on the street would maybe be somewhat precarious at times. Doing it in terms of more of a sketch kind of role play with a partner kind of way on camera would potentially be a way of doing it, but then it's organising other people and getting everyone working to the schedule that I'd need to set out for it. So it's something that now, after seeing these numbers, is now in my head a bit more than it was, but it's not something that I can like instantly start doing. Same with things like the merchandise and stuff. It's all stuff that I've now got planned out, or at least got a good idea of kind of what I need to do and how I need to do it. But it's either a case of resources or time or something like that that's going to then slow me down on doing it. Which thing needs to come first? It's what I talk about in regards to planning all the time when I'm talking about coaching. I'm going to have to tear stuff out, chunk it all down, see what comes first, see what comes later, and so on and so forth. Now, the last couple of questions I asked were more about just your experience with coaching, because I'm here. This is why I'm here. Coaching is kind of what I do, and as a result, I kind of wanted to know how many of you guys had actually experienced coaching before, and a good number of you had. Maybe possibly because a lot of you come from the States, and coaching is much more prevalent over there. It's been much more speedily adopted, especially in the world of business and things. So not necessarily a big surprise that a good chunk of you have had coaching. Either the question was, have you ever had life or career coaching from a qualified coach before? And the majority of you said yes, but I don't know if that's necessarily for life coaching or if it was through work, and so on and so forth. But then I asked the question after that, because this is the one that's kind of near and dear to me and the way that I think, which is, if developmental coaching was more readily available to you, would you take advantage of it? And even though some people were like, I would only do it for work, and some people were like, I'd only do it for personal, most people said yes, and not a single one of you said no. In which case, there's something to me that's kind of validating about that, because if I could offer proper coaching, one-on-one, kind of focused on the problems that you guys have, the things that you guys want to talk about, and I money wasn't an issue. My survival wasn't an issue, and stuff like that, then I would want to do that. I'd want to put that together. I'd want to work to achieve that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to do something to that effect on YouTube. You know, just it won't be as personal as it could be. It won't be as universally or intimately useful to people, because I'm having to be vague, because everyone's situation is different and everyone's way of working is different. Everyone's approach to situations because of their way of working is different, and so it's not necessarily something that I can do. But seeing that you guys would, at the very least, all of you would take advantage of coaching for something. All of you, if it was there for you to kind of take advantage of, you would do it. And that to me is great. Now, in my mind, I just need to find a way to somehow mix me surviving, me being able to look after myself and the people around me, as well as then also kind of prompting a way in which I can reach out to people and do more of the developmental coaching, more of the helping that you guys would take advantage of if you could, you know. So, you know, that was the survey that that I did, and that was the kind of survey that was done so far. And so it's kind of great to see some of these responses, and it's again the surprise that basically all of you guys were on board with the idea of me putting together and providing a planner and self-coaching kind of book of some description, which would be, in my mind, probably the most useful product. But it's the thing that, even though I want to do the other stuff to one degree or another anyway, it was the thing that stood out to you guys as either maybe different or useful, or something that you just wanted. And, you know, that was a great thing. And, you know, as said, in regards to the videos and stuff like that people have suggested already, like the little other video topic suggestions and things, I've started taking a look at those. I want to keep kind of doing more, and I'm kind of hoping that we get some more responses as well before I just kind of go, okay, right, well, that's the cutoff of the survey. I've now gained not necessarily enough information, but it's been sat there for long enough, and we've seen how things are going. But as said, at the moment, if you've not taken it so far, then it's down in the description there, the link. So, you know, please go take a look. If you can just spare, again, the longest it's taken anyone to do, according to the SurveyMonkey analytics, is about 4 minutes. So, you know, if you've got 4 minutes to spare and you've watched some of the content on the channel and stuff like that, I'd very much appreciate your feedback. But otherwise, it's going to be kind of a case of me taking what I can instantly start doing from the feedback and start using it and getting on with it. But otherwise, if it's stuff that is more taxing in terms of money, time, resources, and other stuff, then, you know, I'm probably going to have to just kind of let that lie for the moment until I'm in a better position to kind of develop those things. But you know, I want to know, or I want you guys to know, especially, that I'm wanting to hear your thoughts. I'm wanting to hear your feedback on this stuff, because I want to action it. I want to, you know, try and moderate it and take it in a good direction. And unlike some people that come online and, you know, want feedback and want to do stuff with it, and then they get the feedback and it's not what they want and they just kind of shrug it off. As long as you're not instantly telling me to, I don't know, go to be an entirely gaming channel or anything like that, then you know, that's fine. And looking at the survey results so far, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, even though those videos have potentially gained a lot more traction than some of the others. But it's the one thing that I can say more than anything else is thank you. You know, to even though there's still only a couple of people watching this at the moment, you know, thank you very much to all of you that have subscribed, that have left comments, that have left likes. You know, people who have dropped me emails with their experiences but don't want to share with people generally. People who have dropped me emails or messages elsewhere to give me a suggestion for a video or ask me a question to kind of follow up on a video. You know, thank you to every single one of you that's actually taken part. Like, there are some videos on the channel, like the largest audience that I have spoken to face to face and dealt with for any period of time was about 500 people on anything. And so where some of the videos on the channel are thousands of views, you know, the one that always springs to mind is one that I did on critical, like how to improve your critical thinking, like several tips, several points. I think it was six points on how to improve critical thinking. And, you know, that's now at 3.1 thousand views. Yeah. And so, or somewhere around there. And so that for it being the kind of coaching evergreen content, that's, to me, incredible, because that's what, more than 6 times the number of people that I've spoken to just face to face in person. And then I look at some of the other videos that I've got on the channel that have tens of thousands of views, and it's again, some of those are gaming videos, so it seems to be that because I've been talking about a new addition to a game, or because I've been doing something in a game that's just come out, or whatever else, that I've kind of picked up on the trending and been kind of, there's been an upsweep or an insurgence of an insurge rather, not an insurgence, of a sort that has allowed that video to grow in profile. You know, it's far more interesting and worthwhile to look at, in my view. You know, though the number of people that have come in and dropped into that video and they've stuck around for like 50, 66, 70% of the video. And again, in person, the largest number is probably about 500 people, and this is what, let's say that it's 11,000 views on a video, in which case that's 22 times the number of people that I've ever spoken to, like face to face in one place at one time. You know, most of the things that I've done in terms of workshops, classes, training, whatever, the largest numbers have been 50 to 60. When I was working for a particular cinema chain and I was having to deal with large groups of customers, or produce or like introduce things and do birthdays for kids and whatever else, those times were potentially as large as 400-ish people. Moving forward from that, there have been a couple of very specific occasions where I've had to talk to a lot more people as well, but then that still caps off at about 500 people. So the numbers, to me, not a huge number of my videos, but you know, a good enough number for me to actually take notice and go, some of these aren't flukes. Some of these people just seem to want to watch and enjoy. Even if, you know, there are so many times that I look at the subscriber count and go, it's gone up by another 3 people. That's amazing. That's terrific. That's exciting. And I know that there are lots of YouTubers who got very big very quickly, and they seem to lose track of that, and it's only when they hit the milestones that they make a point of saying anything or doing anything. Like, I've grown pretty slowly so far, all told. You know, it's not been a viral outburst or anything like that, and I'm not sure I'd want it to be. But I'm always like just thrilled to have another person that I have spoken to, that I've reached, that found the videos interesting enough or useful enough to want to subscribe, to want to see more. So, you know, I'm thankful, very thankful, and always excited to see what that person might bring to the next video with leaving a comment or whatever else as well. So, you know, but then that leads me on to kind of what I ended up talking about a fair amount in one of the last live streams I did, which is YouTube and the situation around YouTube and what videos are being suppressed and what videos are being let run live. And as much as they've said that monetization has nothing to do with kind of discoverability, it definitely seems to, because you've got a lot of people like me that saw a lot of drop off, smaller creators that don't have the requirements for monetization, see, you know, having that drop off in attention and in people finding us, just due to what YouTube had done. So, you know, there's that, but we'll have to see what happens, and, you know, hopefully things will kind of tick up again as we're moving into kind of the later half of the year, because, you know, obviously in the summer there aren't as many people wanting to sit inside, sit around and watch YouTube videos. So we'll have to see kind of how we as a channel, we as a community grow, because I want to have more of these conversations with you. It's why I wanted to start doing these live streams. But anyway, I realised that also the time that I'm doing live streams is affecting the number of people that are seeing this. Like, live streams are being picked up after the fact a lot more than they are whilst I'm actually doing them. But at the same time, you know, it's a case of, if most of my audience is in America, but most of what I'm having to do during the day is running on standard kind of UK days, then, you know, doing the live streams once or twice a month, as said, where I'd be able to stay up until the middle of the night or whatever to have a chat with you guys for a Patreon stream, works fine. But doing live streams like this one in the middle of the night so I can catch everybody, but then when I've still got other stuff to do, you know, it doesn't really work out so well. So that's another thing that I'm going to have to kind of keep in mind and pay attention to. And also, again, you know, it's Friday. I'm doing these on a Friday, one of the days where I'm able to get stuff out of the way and just do stuff. So if I maybe change days, experimented with different days, then maybe that would be a thing. Because obviously Friday evening, Friday afternoon, people going home from work, wanting to do their own thing, enjoy the weekend, probably not necessarily wanting to sit down and engage with me. But maybe middle of the day on a Wednesday would be a better day, when people are bored, they're stuck in whatever it is that they're doing. They can't do anything that evening because you've got work the following day or school the following day. You know, maybe I just need to play around with that. And again, also, you know, if you've got thoughts on that, I'm not going to be around here for much longer. I only got a few minutes left. Anyway, but, you know, if you guys have got ideas, if you guys have got things like that, once this goes up as a video on demand, once it gets archived, then, you know, please just feel free to drop down in the comments thoughts on when maybe you would like to see a live stream, when it would be around for you guys to actually sit down, tune in, and enjoy a conversation, or ask questions and have my attention for answering them and discussing some of the stuff some more. You know, like how crazy and ridiculous YouTube is. In fact, here's a question for you guys before I leave. How many of you guys have had the surveys from YouTube, because I had another one just before I started this stream. It was only 2 questions, but all of the surveys that they seem to be giving me are really like it's which platforms are the best or the worst. How would you like us to be more like this platform? And it's like, no, I've this is the way to improve your platform is really straightforward. You don't need to start trying to copy or compete with other platforms. You're already winning. Just make it better. And we've told you time and time again on how. But anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on the surveys that have been going out. But it's just because it's to my mind, some of these surveys that they've been putting out are a bit weird, where all they ever seem to want to do is look for things from other platforms that they can try and assimilate or that they can try and mimic. But we don't necessarily want that. Like the number of people that have pointed out that Facebook wants to do X, Y, and Z with video. Oh well, we're not going to go to Facebook because we don't want to go to Facebook because we prefer YouTube. Having those kind of things in mind, like what do you think of the questions they're asking? Because they're not asking about policy. They're not asking about the way that they deal with us. They're asking about our opinions of other platforms relative to YouTube. And as I've said before in other videos, and as I've said a lot actually, time and time again, you shouldn't be comparing to other people. You should be comparing yourself to how you were yesterday. And I feel like that's the thing that YouTube needs to do too, as a company, as a platform. It needs to be, yesterday we weren't doing so well, today we need to do better. Yesterday we were pissing off our community, yesterday we were pissing off our advertisers, yesterday we were demonetizing everybody, today we need to do better. It's one of those things that they don't seem to be paying attention to. They seem to be going, all these other things are going on, how can we do the same thing as everybody else so that we can be liked as much as they are? Which again suggests, especially since what's her name, Susan Wojcicki came in as CEO for YouTube, that they've lost more touch than they had lost before with their community and people. Like there was shifts towards it being the new creator economy that they keep referencing now in all of their various kind of posts and news articles and things. And it's like, but you're killing, as much as you're trying to advocate for it, you're advocating for the new creator economy against things like the EUCD, Article 13 and Article 11. You're still killing that new creator economy because you're demonetizing people at the lower end. You're suppressing people all over the platform. You're arguing with creators when creators are being very straightforward in what they're asking for, and you're just refusing to do it. You can't try and say you're the good guy arguing for the rights of creators and things when on your very own platform you're screwing them over, and you're limiting them, and you're only part of that creator economy if we say you are. You don't get to be that arbiter if you're going to talk to someone like the EU and go, this piece of legislation sucks and will be terrible because of the new creator economy. You're not allowed to do that. It's too hypocritical. It's makes me want to actually go and have a very direct argument with some of these people that put out these posts, because they do not seem to have the slightest clue about what they're talking about, how they're talking about it, and then who it's actually affecting. So I'd be interested to see kind of how they manage to reconcile eventually. Because if they don't, after a time, we've already seen creators using other platforms or leaving the platform to one degree or another, using their own websites and things. Keep it up for too long, and the people that have maybe stuck around for longer, not wanted to leave, they will. So, it's going to be interesting and tough to see how that is. But anyway, we've now hit an hour, so, excuse me, I'm going to call it quits now and get on with some other work before chilling out this evening again. Final point, if you guys haven't already gone and given me your feedback through the survey, the link is in the description. I would be very thankful if you could. As said, it only takes about 3 to 4 minutes to go through at most. Most people have been going through it in about 2 to 3 at the very most. So, there it is. It's a 10 question thing, and they're short, easy questions with tick boxes for the most part. And if you don't want to leave a comment on the ones that ask for a comment, that's fine. Just click the OK again and you're fine. But obviously, the more information you give me, the more I can use, the better I can make the channel, the better I can make everything, potentially, all going well. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you next week, and I hope you have a great weekend. Take care.